County General Election Candidate Forum. Tonight we will hear from candidates for the office of Fayette County Coroner, County Commissioners District 2 and 3, the Fayette County Council, and also school board candidates for District 1, 2, and 3. We'll get started with candidates for the office of County Coroner, and unfortunately one of our candidates could not be here tonight, Shelia Sturgeon, the Democrat, but we do have Eddie Richardson, the Republican and current coroner, and welcome, Eddie. Glad to have you here. You can have your opening statement.
Thank you, Sam. I am Eddie Richardson. I'm running for coroner, and I'm a over 25-year resident of Fayette County, and I have my 3 children that go to the Connersville High School, and I work here as a funeral director in the county. And I'm running for coroner because I believe that the dead need a voice. They need somebody to stand up for them, regardless of the circumstances of their death. And also, I'd like to focus on education. I don't think that the county really has any idea of exactly what all the coroner's office does, and so I want to try to get the word out and help them understand everything that we do.
All right, thank you. First question, can you describe your professional background and any relevant experience that prepares you for the role of Fayette County Coroner?
Sure. Well, I'm a funeral director. I've been a funeral director for 12 years now, and I work at Mill & Moster Robbins here in town. And also I've worked with several coroners throughout the years, Vicki Wysong, Mary Poe, and of course Cord Coyle. And Cord was really an inspiration to me, and as he was to many people, not just me, but he was a great person, and also a great coroner. And hopefully I can live up to his reputation.
Yeah, we were all saddened at his passing.
Absolutely.
Yes. Second question, how do you manage stress and maintain your own mental health while dealing with potentially traumatic and high-pressure situations?
That's a good question. I guess I've just been doing it so long that it just comes naturally. You know, you leave your work at the office, per se. Mm-hmm. I have my family. I have a very supportive family. And so I go home and do my family things. I go to ball games with the kids and things like that, and just try to just leave those situations at work. And I have a very good separation of work and my regular life. So.
All right. Final question, are there any specific changes or improvements you would like to make to the office?
No, actually Cord had everything pretty much set. He did pretty good getting everything set up and ready to go. The only, you know, we're going to have some issues with the upcoming hospital, building that, and that's where our morgue is at the old hospital. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be some changes, but I'm ready to address those and work on that.
Are you saying that the new facility will not have a morgue?
I do believe that it will not have a morgue, yeah.
Okay.
So, but we got some, there's a plan, and I'll implement that. It'll be a smooth transition.
All right. Well, that's the questions that we had. You can make a closing statement, and really thank you for coming out tonight.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to say my name's Eddie Richardson, and vote for me for coroner. Thank you.
All right, Eddie. Thank you. And we'll be back shortly with candidates for the office of County Commissioner District 2. And welcome back. This is the Candidates Forum for Fayette County. This time we'll be talking with Dale Munson, County Commissioner, District 2. His opponent, Tracie Sturgeon, is unable to be here tonight. We wish he could have been here. Dale is the Republican, Tracie is the Democrat. Dale, welcome, and your opening statement.
I just want to say I've enjoyed being the commissioner for the last 3.5 years, and I'd like to continue for another 4.
All right. What are your long-term goals for Fayette County, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Well, I'd like to see the city and the county work closer on a lot of different items together. I think it's going to take some time to get them to work together, and I would like to try to get some business into the area so we can get our tax bases up.
All right. What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
I think we would have to look at what the business is, what their need is, and see what we can afford to help to get them in here.
You already mentioned this, but if you could expand on it a little bit, how do you plan to work with other local government entities and organizations to achieve common goals?
I think we just need to sit down and talk about it and get the feeling of everybody, what the problem is, how to fix the problems, and get us all started on a one-on-one conversations.
You already work together in some, like the animal department and 911, and
Right.
But there are other opportunities.
I think there is. It's just going to be taking some time to find them and how to put it together. And when we like you say, we work with the dog animal control, 911, first aid unit, and we just need to get some of those fine-tuned up a little bit and get some more information into them and more information into other departments that we could maybe work together.
And there's mutual aid already in a lot of other areas.
Yes.
With, police and fire.
Yep.
All right. You have a closing statement.
I'm Dale Munson. I hope you will entertain to vote for me come election.
All right, Dale. Thanks for coming out tonight. And we'll be right back with candidates for the office of County Commissioner, District 3 in a moment. And we are back with County Commissioner District 3 candidates, Republican incumbent Tracie Bever and Democrat challenger Gary Ruff. Gary, we'll begin with you and your opening statement, please.
I've lived in Fayette County all my life. I was born here, went to school here, graduated in '73, worked for White Implement, used to be on Western Avenue. They closed up and I opened my own business and been there ever since. Been married for 49 years here in October. Got 3 children, live on a small farm and work on farm equipment. Been interested in commissioners for quite a few years. I ran about 12 years ago against Frank Jackson and just been waiting around, and they kind of talked me into it again this year, so I'm going to give it a try and see what I can do for the county.
All right, thank you. Tracie?
My name is Tracie Bever, and I am married to Brad Bever. We've been married 38 years this year. We have 4 grown children, all married, and 5 grandchildren. We live on a small farm also, and my husband raises cattle for us for beef, and our grandson started showing some hogs at the fair, so we'll be involved in that again. I also have the business catering, C&T catering business for almost 10 years with my friend Carrie. And we have the barn venue with property that people get married and have parties there. And we've done that since 2017. And then I have also been an Orange Township trustee, and then got into the commissioner position after the passing of Mark Nobbe, and have really, after you get in there and realize what all is involved and the responsibility of everything, it really became a passion for me. So I am going to restructure and not be a part of C&T Catering after November this year, and have more time to focus on being in the courthouse and getting the work done. So I'm looking at that as my work now. So.
Well, it is a big job.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. First question will go to Gary. What do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Fayette County, and how do you plan to address them?
Maintaining the budget, the money, so it's spent wisely and used properly. Keeping the county roads going in good shape. Right now, we've got some of the best roads around us. I mean, the other counties are down where we used to be that way, and we've got some excellent roads. I'd like to see that continue. Just try to make everything work out for in the county and keep all the offices going with, within their budgets, and try to maintain the money so we don't overspend and get in trouble again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all I got to say for now.
Okay, thank you. Tracie, same question. What do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Fayette County, and how do you plan to address them?
I think it is a challenge with our tax base not being, great. A challenge would be to be creative and find ways to attract business, and so I believe the economic development is very important, so that we create more tax revenue. I also believe that it's important to keep people, and give them a decent pay and benefits. So it is a very, very hard thing to do. But I feel like this year has been good. I know in 2018, the county was in the red, actually, and they've come out from that, and there's a pretty good surplus right now. So if we be very careful and diligent to pay attention, and that really is for the council, that's their job. We as commissioners have to understand all that, but they set that budget, and then we spend that money. So a challenge is that we have a lot of things we need to take care of. The courthouse needs tuck pointing. We have boiler and a boiler at the jail. Annex building is not in very good shape. Manlove Park, of course, we're working on trying to get that back to where it needs to be, and then to maintain that, we'll need to keep that where it needs to be so that it's always a good lake for our community to use. There are a lot of things like that. If it were all added up, what that's going to cost, we can't possibly take care of it all. So a challenge is knowing what's most important, and we have been meeting and discussing that, and I think we've got a list going, and we do have a plan. Another challenge that I see is for our department heads to really, I feel like we need more communication, maybe more meeting. We don't have regular meetings. That's not been how things have been operated. And from where I've been in the business world and all the different places I've worked, I've understood to have regular meetings with people, and the morale will be better. And so we do have several, like I think it's 10 department heads. So to have good communication with them, and then that will trickle down for the morale. And I believe that everything as a whole would be better for us, and as far as that goes. The third thing would be just, there's so much that comes, there are positions that probably we need to have help, and we can't really do that. I know Gary mentioned the roads and the highway also. Currently, I know in the future I would like to see us have a supervisor engineer position, so that we're paying a lot of money out to engineering firms right now, and we could save a lot of money if we could get someone to come and do that position. And then with that, the state has a $40,000 reimbursement if you have an engineer. So it would definitely pay for itself. So that is a goal of mine, is to help us to move forward for our highway and the engineering, and also, like I said, the communication and good relations with our department heads, and keeping a good eye on all these projects we have with the finances to make sure we're not overspending.
All right, next question will be for you. What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
I didn't hear the first part.
What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
Well, that's an interesting question. I know that I've recently become a member of Discover Connersville Board, and that's very much about, downtown, or the area that has been designated as Discover Connersville, with an intention of supporting those businesses, drawing more business into downtown. I would love to see, I guess my vision would be to extend, I would hope that the city could get that ballpark done out the river bend, and I would love to see a hotel out there. I would love to see more growth go south. I feel like, as I've shared with others, we have all of the jewels in our county. I feel like we're a tourism spot. There's a lot of people. I go personally, even on vacation, to small towns that have a lot to offer, and I think that is our what's most valuable about Fayette County. We're not going to be industrial. I don't see that for us in the future. Not that it won't be, but I feel like if we could get a different vision for Fayette County and Connersville and work together, that's a big piece too. I'm very much about working with the city. That's why I went over to Discover also, because I think when we start collaborating and working together, then we'll have more. We'll be able to do better, and that will be a draw for any business or even people who work in other counties and will want to come and live in Fayette County. So that increases our tax revenue as well.
All right, thank you. Gary, same question. What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
Working with the economic development and the programs to bring in business, I'd like to stay in contact with them and do whatever I could to help bring new businesses in. I'm a fan of small businesses. I think they are a great thing, because if you get good small businesses growing, they will attract big businesses in, because of the small business climate. Seems like they always draw in larger business around because of the workers they have. So I'm all in support of small businesses in any way I can help with that. I'm not for sure just what all kind of funds and programs that the commissioners have to work with to bring in businesses and that with. And so I'm kind of new at coming into this. I've been around the commissioners for a while. I've got to learn the programs that's out there if I get elected, which I'd like to, I dig into it, foot and soul and everything, to find out just what all there is to be done and what I can use to get businesses to come in with. Other than that, I just don't know what else I could do offhand personally without, all the committees and that works on it, and supporting them to bring in business.
Okay. Stay with you and ask you, how do you plan to work with other local government entities and organizations to achieve common goals?
Oh, I'd like to work with them, just as much as I can. I'm easy to get along with, unless you step on my toes, and then I kind of get a little rowdy. But I'd like to work with all the businesses, the government, any way I can to make everything work out. I think county and city has to work together. That's about the only thing I can really say. I'd work with any program they had and try to work out everything. I don't want to fight. I don't want to see the county separate from the city, and I want to see the city and the county come together and work as possibly as one on issues of bringing in businesses, expanding the community.
All right, thank you. Tracie, you alluded to some of these things, but I'll ask it again. How do you plan to work with other local government entities and organizations to achieve common goals?
Well, another thing that I noted as being a commissioner is that we don't have planned regular, even annual meetings with our council. And I think that's a very important thing that we need to begin to do to understand better our roles and work together. And then to add to that, when we're more united in understanding where we are, then I believe I also plan to, actually even this year, have a couple from the council and myself meet with the mayor and, we need to communicate and decide on interlocal agreements. That hasn't been done. I think it was 2008 when it was actually sat down and done. So the relationships haven't been the best there, and it isn't lying obviously on the mayor now, but he's also very willing, and he's been coming to our commissioner meetings, which is really good. So our relationships are already starting to be more compatible, and we do see it as working together, and that's really good. I have great hope for that, and I believe when that happens, we really will see a lot of more change and more growth and community involvement. Everything will just be better.
All right, thank you. Gary, closing statement.
Let's see. Decisions I would make as a commissioner, I would have to leave my personal feelings out of them and make them according to what would be good for the county and the citizens of Fayette County. I said I can't let personal feelings get involved in issues. Just have to let them go and try to communicate with the citizens and the county and on issues that would come up to figure out what would be the best method of solving problems or issues. I'm going to say, for one example, would be like the windmills or solar systems. I'd have to listen to both sides. I could not let my personal feelings get involved in it, and I'd have to do what the county folks would want in that prospect. And then on the other hand, I'd have to look at the figures and that and see what the tax dollars would be that they could possibly bring in to help the county in a way where it could possibly lower their property tax. So I'd have to look on both sides and listen to both sides of it in order to make decisions. And that's what I'd want to do on all issues, is look down the issue and then take both sides of it and figure out what's the best way to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tracie, closing statement.
I thought about this because I knew this would be a question. I remember it's been almost 3 years ago that I went down to the Republican headquarters and stood with two other men before the precinct committee and shared in, I think it was 2 minutes, why they would choose me to be the commissioner. And the one thing that kept coming to my mind is, number one, I'm not a politician. So the difference in a politician and a statesman, politician does what they do in order to, everything they do and decisions they make is to be elected or gain power. And a statesman is someone who does everything with the good, what's best for the people that have him or her in that position. And that is something I do, just as Gary said, that's really good, to listen to people. Even if I have the beginning of a thought, I don't think I would like this, I always want to give opportunity for what's really best for Fayette County, what's best for Fayette County and Connersville, what's best for my neighbor, what's best for my family. It's all those things coming together. So I don't make a decision based on just what's best for me, which is what a politician, I'm sorry. I don't like that politician stuff. So I'm very much wanting to be a change, person who brings change. So with that, it isn't, I think that's what it requires. And politicians are too much about an agenda. And so consideration, back to that, is to be willing to listen and not be quick to make a decision unless it's obviously known, right or wrong. But also to have integrity. Integrity is the first and foremost important thing to me, and this is something else I also shared at that first meeting. Decisions that we make have to be based on something also. So, even our forefathers, the Word of God was there for the commandments even. So you have that, and then you have your Constitution, and you have your laws of your land, and then you have your state laws, and then you have codes and ordinances. And then as commissioners, we're responsible to actually be the ones making some ordinances, And so it can be hard sometimes if we do this, it's settled, So we need to take the time, and that was one reason why the moratorium was also decided on for the solar project. That was a hard thing, but it needed to be done, and I know that we were getting pressed on both sides, so that stuff happens. But when you really think about what's best for the whole and look at your county and know what the lie of the land is, who we really are, so much to factor in. So that goes into the knowledge part. And so the more I've gained knowledge, a lot of it has been from other people who've been past commissioners. I call them. I also call neighboring county commissioners that I've gotten relationships with. I go to the conferences. I just not, I guess, us four and no more mentality here at a table, because I have said, I don't know, and you have to be willing to say you don't know, admit when you make mistakes. And I just feel like the more that we would all do that, the better we could all be and work together also. So I am very thankful that for the almost 3 years now that I've had experience that I've had, and based on a decision I made to just decide to commit to this, and like I said, even sacrifice something I love, which is my catering business, all for the purpose of doing this work, because I see that it's bigger than I've had time for. And so my plan is to be in that courthouse even more and to work towards the unity within those department heads and us and elected officials also, with good communication and the ability to see the vision for the future for Fayette County and not be reactive. There's a lot of stuff's been reactive, and that's not very popular with me. I don't appreciate that. So I had a lot of things I had to work through in my own emotions. You get upset or you get angry. But I know there's a great John Maxwell statement that he says that hope has two sisters, and one's anger and one's courage. And when you get upset enough about something, and then you have to also have the courage to do something about it. And I feel like I very much am. I'm that. That's just what I just see something and I want to make it right, or do what I can do. So that's why I made the decision to run, and I'm hopeful that the constituents of Fayette County will also see that I have been working, and we've made some great progress so far. And it's going to continue. So I'm hopeful.
All right. Thank you both. We'll be right back with the candidates for County Council at Large. We are back with the candidates for the office of County Council at Large. There are 3 open seats available in this race with 6 candidates. Those candidates are Republican incumbent Scott Bevington, Republican Gabe Nobbe, Republican incumbent Riker Peyton, Democrat Brian Durham, Democrat Jay Haviland, and Democrat Vane Lashua. We will start with opening statements to my left. Scott, your opening statement, please.
Sure. My name is Scott Bevington. I grew up here. My wife Diana and I have 4 children ranging in age from 26, almost 27 to 35, and 3 grandchildren. It's been my honor to serve as your county councilman for the next 4 years, or for the last 4 years. You know, I'm still in this because 2 of our 4 kids still live here, and 3, those 2 are the ones that have our 3 grandchildren. So as long as they're here, I'm going to be in the fight trying to help make our community a better place. So I'd appreciate your support down the road.
Thank you, Gabe.
Hi, my name is Gabe Nobbe. I'm a longtime resident of Fayette County, born and raised here. The only time I was gone is when I went to college, and I came back right after that. I teach out at the high school and teach agriculture. Run the FFA program. I've done that for the past 23 years. I got 2 children, beautiful and super smart. I got a beautiful wife who's also now joined the teaching ranks, so I kind of got her into that one. And I figured I've also served as a city council for 2 terms, and I got out of it after 2 terms because I thought that was long enough. And I've been out for 4 years, and I thought that maybe I have something to offer to the county government. My dad served for a long time, so I got a pretty fair understanding of it. And for the voters out there, I think people know who I am. And if you like me, you vote for me. If you don't, that's okay too. We can still be friends.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Kay?
Hi, thanks Sam for having us here tonight. I'm Kay Riker Peyton, lifelong resident of Fayette County. I'm an incumbent on the county council. I've enjoyed it immensely, being a public servant and helping my community. Born and raised here. I have a business degree from Indiana Wesleyan, and I'm a grant writer, currently funded by DMHA, and my son is in med school on his own dime. And I have brought 10 grants to the community over this past 10 years, and I can't think of anything else besides I love doing what I do.
All right, thank you. Brian?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. My name is Brian Durham. I nearly lifelong resident, like everyone else has been, except for my time in college and when I thought it a good idea to try to be a cowboy in Montana, which did not work out for me. I'm married to my wife, Hannah. We have a lovely daughter, June. Part of the reason that I've wanted to be involved in local government is I want my daughter to live here, enjoy the same opportunities that I had. Previously, I served as Vice President of the Redevelopment Commission for the City of Connersville. I served as Area Planning President for 7 years. I enjoyed my time there. I thought we got a lot of work done, working with the commissioners on various projects to move us forward into the 21st century. Currently, I'm a teacher at Union County Middle School and a law school student, so I have a lot on my plate, but more than happy to serve my community.
All right, thanks, Brian. Jay?
My name is Jay Haviland. I'm a lifelong resident of Fayette County. I currently work for the Fayette County Highway Department. I'm a supervisor down there. I've been employed with the county system since 1980. And I enjoy doing the work, and I enjoy all the people and the council members and all of them. I get along with all of them. I don't have a problem with them. And I like working with the county people. I'd like to continue that if I could. I'm going to retire at the end of this year, so that's why I'm trying to do this.
All right, thank you. Vane?
My name's Vane Lashua, Carl Vane Lashua, and I was raised here. My mother and father were in the Army together, and we moved back and forth from California to Connersville, and I grew up in Connersville, graduated from CHS. Just had our 60th high school class reunion, and I'm now engaged to a woman I met at my 50th high school class reunion, and we're living nicely here. I have one daughter who lives in New York. I went to Indiana University and then Western Kentucky University for master's, And then I worked in different places, went to New York and lived there for 40 years, and that's why I came back. I met Terry, my fiance, at the 50th high school class reunion, and she wanted to come to New York, and I wanted to come back to Connersville, so here I am. I've been on the library board, the parks board, and have enjoyed working with people on that kind of substance. The council position came open, and I signed up for it. That's why I'm here, and I really have enjoyed working with people, leaders in the community, and with our citizens, and I hope that I can help in using my perspective as well as my my smile to help the community along. And the council sounds to me like a great place to do that.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get into the questions now, and first question will go to Scott. The job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
Well, one of the things that I've done over the last couple of years in being on the Economic Development Group board is talk to the board about some issues that I thought they had that I thought we could do better about. And one of those was improving the relationship between the mayor's office and the Economic Development Group. And that has started to pay off. The Economic Development Group was crucial in the negotiations to bring Nova here. And in 2026, their payroll will be millions more than we've ever spent on economic development. I don't know of any other department in county government or city government that has had the same amount of money, same amount of public assistance for 30 years that economic development has. And I was proud to lead the effort to, from the council side, to finally give them a little raise. Now is not the time for us to back off. And so I'll be working with that board further to do more things to make sure we can keep the progress going.
All right, thank you, Scott. Gabe, the job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
Well, I think the most important thing is to have a government that is fiscally responsible. And they create an environment where we have fiscal responsibility so that we can create an environment that the businesses are more likely to be attracted to. I also think that we have to conduct ourselves in a way that is very professional, as a way that would be a good representation not only to our community members, but also those that are potential future community members, like our maybe do businesses and things. So that means while we're in meetings, that we conduct ourselves with decorum at all times, and that we act extremely professional. And I would always bring that to the table.
All right, thank you. K, the job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new businesses?
Well, I agree with both what Gabe and Scott have said. And this last budget cycle, we put $100,000 in for economic development. I would like to see the city to contribute, and that we could boost it even more. And Scott is actually our representative on the EDG board for the council. So everything he has said, he represents it well. So, and then he reports back to us after their meetings. And but I do think we could make it even better because currently now the county is the only one that gives the $100,000. So if the city would throw in $100,000, then we could boost it even more. But again, that would be discussion that had taken place between the mayor and commissioners and our president of the council. So,
All right, thank you. Move on to Brian. Same question. The job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting businesses?
Yeah, well, I'll have to reiterate Scott's point, making sure communication between both the city and the county, open door of communication. I was fortunate when with Nova to be part of the redevelopment commission when we were negotiating with them. We worked on that project, and kudos to Mayor Frank on that for almost 3 years of back and forth, and were we going to get it, were we not going to get it, and it was almost every meeting where, well, there's this place in Texas that has an opportunity to take them from us. What are you offering? And working with the IEDC to be in the forefront of that. The IEDC is a great resource that the state of Indiana has. Unfortunately, I felt like rural communities have been ignored by the IEDC, but I'm also a believer that squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more times that you're at the top of the pile when projects come through to the state, you got to check all the boxes. Some intern is looking through the applications when they come through from the state. You got to make sure that you're checking those boxes so that you're the first one that they call when a project comes about. That's the most important thing. From the state side, the Nova project didn't come that way. That was somebody knew somebody. So building relationships, I think relationship building is the number one way to build an economy. To get new jobs. Also, most new job growth comes from within. So working with our businesses on tax incentives. Right now, personal property tax, I know the state of Indiana was looking at eliminating personal property tax. Sometimes that's something that you can use to your advantage to help a business grow. If that's taken away from us at the state level, that's one more tool in the toolkit that the state doesn't want to give us anymore. So it's finding that balance and having open lines of communication between both the city of Connersville and Fayette County.
All right, thank you. Jay, same question. The job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
Well, I agree with the other candidates, and they sound like they've been doing a lot of things to try to help the county. But I would like to just keep an open mind and pay attention to everything that's coming across the board and work with the other candidates to make sure everything goes the right way.
All right, thank you. And Vane, finally, the job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
When I grew up, as I grew up a young man, our family working printing company, I worked for Philco, for D&M, for a number of people doing the printing. We had a really healthy economy at that point. Today, as I was coming back to Connersville, I see the downtown Connersville is being developed better and better. It's growing and growing. It's attractive as a town. Location is fantastic between some larger cities, and we have the opportunity here to host economic development for larger companies. And I think that's one of the things we need to focus on, is go out and tell them what a nice place this is, people we have to work here, and what our past has hosted the larger companies. We know how to do it, and it's part of our background. And again, the area where we are is relatively inexpensive to host a larger company. We've got wonderful people. We can draw from all the larger places around us if we want to. And that's what I think we need to host more economic development through the growing companies around us. Connersville is a really nice place to have a business. It's shown that in the past, and that's what I'm hoping we can develop, and I'd very much like to help do that.
All right, thank you, Vane. Next question will go to Brian. What are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services in Fayette County?
Something that was glaring to me, I serve on the emergency management response team, and Wade, in one of our meetings, told us that our SWAT team did not have SWAT gear. EMA wrote a grant in order to get them SWAT gear. So I don't know what gear we were sending our SWAT team out with, but apparently it wasn't SWAT gear. So that's a huge red flag. And making sure that our first responders have all the equipment they need, and also looking towards the future when changes come through communications, because we have a system where some people have 800 radios and some people don't have 800 radios, and sometimes not everybody can hear everything that's going on interdepartment wise, and that can create problems. So we got to make sure we address those problems and have the funding to address those problems with our first responders, and working with even our township trustees to get more funding to our rural fire departments, looking for things that the state offers and grant writing opportunities for from our trustees to our fire departments. There's plenty of opportunity to work together within our fire districts, and public safety from a perspective looking at, from what Mr. Walling had told me, it's kind of a scary thought that we're sending people out with inadequate equipment, and if that's one instance, and it might be the only instance, but I'm a big planner, having a plan to fund things, to replace things when they come up, not relying that, this Homeland Security grant existed 5 years ago, let's use it again, and you got to use it again, and that Homeland Security grant doesn't exist anymore. So you have to plan ahead for the potential that it's not there. So that's, when it comes to public safety, that's how I would address it.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Jay, what are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services in Fayette County?
I think we need to make sure they all have all the updated equipment they need. Any way we can get it, we need to find funding for that, and we need to keep them in updated equipment. Because you can't do the job if you don't have the right kind of equipment to do it. It's like working at the highway department. You got to have the right equipment to do the job you want to do. And if you have to go looking for grants for funding for them, there's all kinds of avenues you can go into to look for funding, but you just have to research them all and find them.
All right, thank you. Vane, same question. What are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services here in Fayette County?
I think I agree very much Brian's position, and we obviously need the best equipment, most updated equipment, and another thing to do is to educate people around the emergency situations. Why do we have, if we have fires, if we have weather problems or weather issues, we have to respond, and I think we've done it in the past, and I think this is it's just keeping up to date with the equipment and the people to move on, to move with it. And I don't know, I think another thing is economic development would also fund, would help to fund that kind of equipment, that kind of background, because you want to say, I've got the equipment here and we can support you and the people you bring, the equipment, the kinds of equipment you bring. And that's, I'm just yakking, but I think what we've all said, I guess, is we can do that. We need the updated equipment. We need to move on, and that's
all right. Thanks.
Good.
Thanks, Vane. Same question to you, Scott. What are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services here in the county?
Well, there's a number of things. We have a challenge here in Fayette County because county government, most local government, or local government in general, is funded based on assessed valuation. And if you look at our assessed valuation compared to our population, we have less valuation to spend per person than 89 of our 92 counties. We're pretty poor. And we've done a really good job over the last several years in taking us from the brink of bankruptcy to having right now about $3 million in a rainy day fund. Now, because we've been blessed with this reserve, we've got to be careful. We have to exert a lot of discipline. But we found ourselves in a situation where our 911 operators, our jail officers, our deputies were a little bit too underpaid compared to communities our size throughout Indiana, whether if you're looking at a population of between 20 and 25,000, or communities around us, contiguous to us. And so we gave them significant increases during the last budget cycle. Also, and so I think that's important, that we pay well the people that take care of us and protect us. Another thing I will say is that I did oppose the recent passage of the public safety tax. Now, that was done by the city council. By law, all they had to do was pass it, and it didn't matter what the county council thought. It was kind of a pass-through type of thing. But I did vote against it because it raised our income taxes to the 4th highest in Indiana, and I thought that was way too much. But you win some, you lose some, and so we're going to get that money. I thought it was terribly important that we take some of that money and make sure that our volunteer fire departments get it. Because if the city ever gets a wild hair and wants to merge the EMS and the fire department, we have to make sure our volunteer fire departments are ready to go. Now, I do think in the future we may need to put some stipulations with that about how they use that money. But I was glad to see that we were able to get most of what I thought they should get of that money too. So from a public safety standpoint, I think making sure our people are well paid and that our volunteer fire departments are prepared as much as possible is the best thing we can do.
All right, thanks. Gabe, what are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services in Fayette County?
Well, we're kind of toward the end here, so I think everything's been said, but I'm going to say it a different way, so that'll make it sound really good, right? So, first thing, I think one of the most important things that everyone should do, from a household budget to the federal government, everyone should establish a plan for the future, all right? They always say a failure to plan is a plan to fail, and I believe that's wholly true. So we know that police cars will run out. There's a lifespan to those. We know that all equipment, not just cars, but all equipment has a lifespan to it. So I believe that we should establish non-reverting funds to start planning for those things. So if we know that a police vehicle runs $35,000, we should put back a portion of money, $5,000 a year for 7 years, to have that for one car. And we could do that for multiple cars, so we'd have to actually dig deeper into that plan. And we also have to have a schedule of replacement. So like, how often should these things be replaced? What's the lifespan of those things? And that schedule should be set up by the department heads, maintained, and the government should fund those. And now I understand that trying to fund those while also putting out fires is a terribly difficult thing. And that's where we look at grants and things like that to help provide that initial income, that initial boost, that money to pay for those things that are the emergency issues. But then we should establish some sort of non-reverting fund where we set back a bit of money every year for that. I also really like what they've done with the salaries to keep them competitive. We're only as good as our people. You can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't have the people to run it, it's not worth anything. So we need to keep and maintain our people and not have constant turnover. So I like what we've done with the salaries, and I hope that we continue to make those competitive with our surrounding counties.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Kay, how do you, or what are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services here in the county?
Okay. Well, we actually just did some improvements. We gave the volunteer fire department $150,000, and we gave our 911 and our sheriff's department some nice raises, because we don't want that experience to walk out the door and go to another county, because you want to know that you call 911, you want to know they're going to be there. You want to know that they're going to be there when you call. That is pertinent. You can't put price on a life. So we gave them good raises so they'll stay, because we don't want the experience and knowledge walking out the door, because that is very critical in those two fields, because not everyone is cut out to be a sheriff's deputy, and not everyone is cut out to be a 911 operator and also EMA. It takes a certain kind of person to do that. It's not like other jobs. You have to want to do that type of work. And so we don't want to lose them. So we did give good raises, and we gave the volunteer fire department the money they desperately needed, because they have new regulations that they're being hit with from OSHA. And I know that some of them had told us if they don't get the money that they needed, they were going to possibly have to shut down. That's how critical the money is that they needed to keep going forward, because of all the new OSHA rules. And I do agree, I think the trustees, because it's in the state code, that trustees should help with the volunteer fire department a little bit more than they do. And we've also funded the EMA. We've given him some more tools in his tool belt. And I do know that the fire departments, they already apply for grants as much as they can. And we have the sheriff's department. We do have a cycle for them as far as when they buy the vehicles. They have a plan, and we have some money set back. So I think that with the raises and the money that we were able to give them through the budget we just adopted, I think we're already on that road.
All right. Thank you. The third question will go to Gabe. How do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for these changes?
Well, that's a tough question.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think we can expect a lot of the same thing we've seen in the last decade. We're going to see mass change. I don't know that we'll see, that we'll even understand how big the change could be. Technology is developing rapidly, and we got to make sure that we keep in touch with that and keep that in the forefront of everything we do. And I think that's one big thing that we got to make sure that we do. Also, I think that there are some opportunities that are going to be out there, because we're seeing a lot of people now work from home, work from mobile issues, mobile ways, and even traveling maybe a day or two to work. I have a friend that works in Batesville, or lives in Batesville, and drives to the northwest side of Indianapolis 2 days a week, and then works the other days from home. Those are becoming more commonplace. So if we can develop our community into being just an outstanding place to live, even better so than it already is, and it's a great place as it is, I think we could attract a lot of residents to help improve not only our normal surroundings, but also to increase those property values, so then you would see those revenues increase, and then hopefully have a more sound footing for our government.
Thanks. Okay, how do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
Well, that's a very, very subjective question. I would say off the top, I think already right now, I think we have to keep our eye, no pun intended, I think we have to keep our eye on AI. That's going to shift everything. I'm not for sure if it's going to be good or bad, but it is going to be a very, very big thing. It's going to change everything. I can't even envision how it's going to change, because it's already doing it now. I mean, Brian's had kids that turns in papers and they're using AI. I mean, I know my cousin said that in the family practice, he said it's going to go away because of AI. So I think that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because it's going to really change our world. I'm not for sure which direction it will go. I think it's going to be hard to really predict that, but just, I guess the only thing we can really do is to stay on top of the legislation and what they're doing, pay attention to what they're doing up there, because they dictate everything we do. So we just got to really pay attention.
All right, thank you. Brian, how do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
Well, I think there will be not just the community. I think the whole world will change a lot in the next decade, but particularly for Fayette County, one of the things that I find most interesting when I talk to people, they talk about how old of a community we are and how we tend to be in that 65 plus. And I noticed today that more than half of our population is under 44 years old. So we don't have an aged population. Half the people are 0 to 44 years old. But what we have is a situation where our rules don't allow for somebody to build smaller homes for people to want to sell their large home. They're an empty nester. They stay in their home because it's their home and they have no other option. They don't want to leave here. Our county's rules when it comes to building a house, 1,080 square feet is the minimum size for a dwelling, and it's been that way since 1993. And we've done nothing to change that. In that time, I think the opportunity for that population, that 47% of the population who maybe want to downsize but don't because they don't have an option, are looking for another option, and using our area planning commission to change those rules to allow builders to build homes that are smaller so that those people sell their homes, which opens opportunities for people my age. You know, I'm 34 years old. I'd like to buy another house in the not so distant future. That also increases tax revenue because if somebody has an old age exemption, we're getting less money from their property tax, so that exemption falls off. I'll end up paying more in taxes as a result, and I'm happy to pay more in taxes as a result if it means more opportunities for our older population and people just starting off, young couples who want a small house, to provide those opportunities. So in addition to that, I think more work from home opportunities where you can live anywhere you want and work anywhere you want. And during COVID, one of the things that we changed when I was president of area planning, technically it was a zoning code violation to work from home in Fayette County. Not that it was readily enforced, but easily could have been enforced. We had some old language from the 90s that a home occupation, regardless of what it was, if you were working out of your house, you were in violation of the zoning code. We worked to change that. It was a pretty easy change. I think everybody sitting on that area planning board looked at each other and was like, "Oh, this is stupid. We should change this rule." And you got to go through the process and the public hearing and all that. So it took up 2.5 months to get the rule changed because nothing's fast in government. But I thought that was a good thing that we were able to do. So yeah, I look to the future. I'd like to see more people move in. Anytime somebody moved in when I was chamber director, I tried to go out of my way. If a realtor told me that, hey, this person just moved here from Texas, hey, this person just moved here from Washington, I would try to go out of my way to introduce myself to them and welcome them to the community. And I think if more people did that, people would stay longer and show people that we're a very welcoming community and build for the future.
All right, thank you. Jay, how do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
I think as a group, as the council and the commissioners who had to pay attention to what's going on around them, everything's changing because since I've been down to the highway department for 40 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the last 40 years. Things get better, then they kind of slide back the other way, and then they get better again. And you've got to pay attention to what's going on around you. You've got to pay attention to all the changes coming at you, because there's going to be a lot of different things going on, because everything's getting way more complicated than what I can understand a lot of times.
Yes, it is. All right, Vane, same question. How do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
I think my heritage was interesting because my family just celebrated a 200-year anniversary for a farm where it's lived, and the state, granted a nice little plaque for that. But meanwhile, the family has made the farm into a very profitable, and I use that widely, operation. I mean, it's been successful for the families and the generations that have come. And I think that's the way we have to look at change is inevitable. We're going to have change. But meanwhile, our tools will change, our approach will change, our opportunities will be open to us in different ways. And I think that's what we have to move with. Change is good. It makes things work better sometimes. Sometimes it causes you to run into the wrong way. But it's inevitably we are situated where we can support those people who've been here a long time. And again, as Brian said, encourage people to buy into a new way of living. I mean, it is. Everything is changing. And Brian's 34, I'm 78. And it's a long perspective onto the county. I'm sorry, I'm yakking, but I really have a lot of hope, and I think the people in the county can work together to make the future a nice prospect for all of us.
If I can throw a couple cents in here. Years ago, I worked for Mayor Bastian, and one of his sayings that he said a lot of times at meetings was that the thing that people fear most is change, but without change, there's no progress. Mm-hmm. And he was a visionary. And anyway, back to this. Scott, same question. How do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for these changes?
That was a nice memory. Sam and I, we were pallbearers at Mayor Bastian's funeral, so he was a good man. I want to add a little technical aspect to this, because I think we got to stay on our lane here when we're talking about the office that we're seeking. In Indiana County government, the commissioners are the executive body and legislative body. We're the fiscal body. We affect policy by either choosing to reduce what is being proposed or eliminating that opportunity to fund it altogether. That's the only way we can affect policy in this job. Now, as far as people have talked about change. Well, there's only 3 constants in life: death, taxes, and change. The only difference about change is who's going to affect that change, you or somebody else. If somebody else does it, they're not going to care what you think. So we have to do it. And technology is definitely going to be a part of that change. Now, with change comes growing pains, and it can be painful and uncomfortable, but you got to do it. And there may be opportunities where we have folks work from their home down the road. It just may be required. AI is absolutely here. I'm in the financial services industry, and we're having to pivot to go away from just advising people about how to handle their retirement to actual financial planning, more comprehensive, because AI is here. It would take me an hour and a half to put somebody's a new portfolio together, and today I can do it with a push of a button, and it's up in 30 seconds. It is amazing what AI can and will do. Yes, there are pitfalls here, and they're kind of scary, but it will change business, and it will change how government does business, and those that are supportive of that change are going to move faster, and we have to move faster. Another thing that I'd like to be able to support is continuing improvement in quality of life issues, because I know that's something that Mayor Frank has really focused a lot on in terms of economic development, and he's absolutely right. We have to do that. And one of the things I did on the Economic Development Board was support an effort that helped the city and the Economic Development Group figure out when festivals happen, figure out where people are coming from. And it's through a computer program that pings from their cell phone, pings from people's cell phone. It's amazing. And that is one of the things that we can do from a county council perspective to be helpful in moving that change along. And I'll continue to do that.
All right, thank you. This brings us to our final question for the council, and this one goes to Jay. He'll start off. What do you consider the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
Well, I think the biggest challenges is keeping the population in Fayette County, because you've got people moving all the time and trying to find better jobs. And the only way we can keep them here is have jobs here for them. So we have to keep working as hard as we can to get new jobs in here to keep people employed and keep the money flowing so they can support their families. I think that's the biggest thing.
Okay, thank you. Vane, what do you consider to be the biggest challenge facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
I agree very much. I think we need to attract the businesses that can help us move along. I think we need to work with people to grow and with the change that's in front of them, and that means lots of things in terms of education, in terms of working together. And I'm hoping that as we've evolved, we can take from that. I threw hay bales up in the top of a barn and a long time ago, and now the machines all do it. That's the same sort of thing that's going to happen. And yet, the people who are doing it are now working in the same. They're working in the same industry, but they've moved along in the way they do it and what they expect.
Thank you, Vane. Scott, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how will you address them as a council member?
Well, one of again, supporting quality of life issues, because that's key to new economic development, keeping people here, attracting people here. 80% of economic development is retaining the jobs we already have, encouraging entrepreneurship. When I had the economic development job, one of the things we did when I got here, we just had tax abatement. So we went about new economic development incentives, and one of those incentives was a loan program for new businesses, trying to get those moving forward. I mean, if you think about Connersville's history, most of the people that started the huge industries here lived here. It grew from within. So we have to encourage that kind of entrepreneurship, and that's one of the things that we'll be working on in the Economic Development Group, I hope, is building on that base entrepreneurship. And area planning has its place. I mean, there are things that we need to do that can be constructive to encourage new residents. And of course, if there's new residents, then that lessens the tax burden for everyone. And we have our tax burden's pretty heavy here, so we need to fix that.
Thanks, Scott. Gabe, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
Well, one of the biggest challenges I think that we face at Fayette County is something that I think that we all face in Indiana. This, I think, it's going to be fairly recent or fairly soon. Right now, both governor candidates at the state are proposing the removal of some sort of taxes for property tax, and that's where most of local government's funded from. So I think obviously we can't control that decision. The state legislature will, and if they make that decision, we have to have an influence on our legislators at the state to make sure that there is a method that is logical and sound to fund local government. I abhor taxes. I hate property tax. I think it's one of the silliest things ever invented. But also, I believe that the most important taxes are the ones that are local. The most important governments are the ones that are local. They can affect your life the most. So we have to find a way to allow our county and city governments and our local governments to be funded if the property tax were to be removed, which I gotta say, I would love to get rid of property tax. I know, in general, property tax is the silliest thing. You own something, then you have to pay because you own it. But I think there definitely needs to be a way to do that, to pay for the local government. Another thing I think we need to do is we need to really focus on retaining and developing our local talent. Every year at the high school, I see many students graduate. They leave the high school, and some of them I never see again because they move away. And unfortunately, it's some of our best and brightest. And I'd love to see a way that we develop those folks, avenues for them to stay here, incentives for them to stay here, so they can develop those companies in the future. Maybe they develop the best AI in the world, and now Connersville is the big hub of the entire world. That would be fantastic, right? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, if you just like a big pie in the sky idea, is a way to retain those folks and develop their talents.
Thanks, Gabe. Kay, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
Taxes is definitely an issue. But from a county councilman purpose, I'm very limited to affect that challenge that we have. I can advocate. We can all advocate to our legislation. That's the biggest thing that we can do because, like Gabe said, the things that they're talking about, we don't know how it's going to all pan out with the new governor coming in and what they're talking about. And taxes is a problem. But I do think that we need more people in our community. We need to attract people to come here because our population has shrunk so badly. We need more jobs so we can alleviate some of the taxes from the people. And I also think that something that we could advocate for is to try to get the legislation to change the property tax reform that they did in 2008 when they went away from the true tax value of a home, and now they do assessed value based on the market value. That's why everyone's assessments went through the roof. That's a major issue for every person in this county, well, the whole entire state. We need to advocate to put that back so that their assessment values are not through the roof, because an assessor is told by the state codes to use this particular formula to calculate the assessed value. So he's restricted as well, and that goes with our job and everything. Everything we do has rules, state codes, state statutes, the Constitution. There's so many rules involved that people don't understand that we have little latitude. We're very restricted. We have money over here, we have money sitting here and money sitting here, but you can't use it anywhere but here or anywhere but here. It's not, our job as county council is not what people realize that it really is. And like the best way I could to describe, to give you an analogy of what it would be like to be like in Jane's shoes, and we just get parts of what Jane does. Jane, imagine you had a 40-book encyclopedia set, and you had to memorize that 40-book encyclopedia set. That's how many rules and regulations are involved with the auditor's office and the state code and the Constitution. There's tons of rules. I mean, I think the state needs to quit band-aiding things and rewrite the whole state statute codes because they're too old. They don't match up with society. So I think we need to advocate to our local legislation some of these things that need to change and match our society to what it is now, not what it was 100 or 200 years ago. And just like Brian has said with the zoning and the airplane, those I don't know how many they got up to date, but there's a lot on there I know that was out of date. But those are the things I think need to happen. We have to just advocate to our local legislators to hear our, make sure that we're heard, because little towns like this are probably going to suffer from some of the changes they're talking about. I mean, nobody likes taxes, but you know, you don't want to go under either. So it's a very difficult to navigate through all the codes and legislation, and it's just very difficult.
All right, thank you. Brian, same question. What do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
You know, to reiterate what some of the other candidates have said, I think our biggest challenge and many small towns' biggest challenges are the state legislature. You know, the dirty truth of Indiana politics is you have to play by the legislature's rules to get your own money back. You know, we have a state legislature that touts a multi-billion-dollar surplus, but God forbid they give it back to the people who pay it to their accountants. They set rules, and you got to play by their rules to get money that you should be entitled to anyway. So and it's been that way at least since the Daniels administration, to play this game of, oh yeah, we have this surplus, but here are all these other departments of the executive branch that are going to create all these rules for all these cities and counties and townships to get their own money back that they should be entitled to anyway. So our biggest challenge as a county is working with as a state legislature who sees that and understands, like, it's our money, it's the taxpayers' money, and we want it back. Because I'm with Gabe. I think that our county council, any person up here, I think is more equipped to spend our tax dollars than some bureaucrat sitting in Indianapolis. I think they can make way better decisions. I think Kay, myself, Jay, any of us could make way better decisions than somebody sitting in an office in Indianapolis, and that's our biggest problem. In addition to that, locally, things that we can control, to reiterate what Kay says, is updating our rules that we have in the county and making it as simple as possible for somebody to want to invest in our community. With that investment comes the potential of tax dollars. They build a house, they're going to pay property taxes on it, and it alleviates a very small percentage on everybody because of the way the caps work. So when somebody builds a large building, it kind of very minutely flattens it across the board for everyone else, because that's the way the state has mandated it to work. We have lots of issues that are beyond the control of the office of county council, and the biggest thing that we can do, like I said before, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Show the problems, because I know we're not alone. I can think of several governor initiatives in the last 2 years, maybe a little longer than that, where talking to other communities who, when programs came out at the state level, they signed up for it, but when you talk to them outside of the room, they're like, yeah, we really didn't want to do this, but we're trying to play the game. And unfortunately, for a very long time, Fayette County has been the county that doesn't play the game, and it's uncomfortable to play the game of politics. But if I hate to be the person to say if everybody else is doing it, but if everybody is doing it and they're being successful at it, maybe we should mimic what other communities are doing to be successful.
All right, thank you. Time now for closing statements, and we'll start with Vane.
I really appreciate the opportunity, but I think the developments that I've gone through in my life have helped me to retain a perspective that change happens, and we move with it and we help it along so that it's satisfactory for everybody. Now, that's too general. With Fayette County, we have a really wonderful environment. You've got a potential, tremendous potential based on our land, our people, and our past. And it's something we need to just keep moving with. And I hope I can help with that, with the perspective.
Thank you. Scott?
Well, thank everybody who put this together tonight. Thank you, Sam. When you're little, many of us dream of what we'll be when we get older. A lawyer, a doctor, professional athlete. For me, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to play basketball for the Connersville Spartans, and for lack of a better term, be a public servant. Well, I was never good enough to play at the Grand Palace on Grand. But this community gave me the opportunity to, in a small way, live a little boy's dream. So I thank you for that. It's been an honor over the last 4 years. I told you why I'm doing this, for my kids, my grandkids. There's a quote that really has resonated with me over the years. A few years ago, I got the chance to explore Louisville, Kentucky, and I went exploring in this historic cemetery where a lot of famous people are buried, and one of them is Muhammad Ali, who is buried there. He was from Louisville. And the quote on his tombstone is, service to others is the rent you pay for your room in heaven. And so I hope we all, no matter who, takes these offices in the next 4 years keeps that in mind and emphasizes the servant part of public service. Thanks.
Thank you. Gabe?
Well, I just want to thank you yourself for doing this and all the staff here to putting this on. It's a good event. It's a good way for the public to see everybody. And I just want to reiterate, I think the biggest job we got is to make sure that the budget is sound, that we have a good fiscal footing for our government, and that I will work hard to do that in anything I do if I were to be elected. I appreciate everyone's vote if they decide to vote for me. If they don't, that's okay too. We're still friends.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Kay?
Well, before I forget, I just want everyone to know out there that they can go online to DLGF. You can access any of the numbers you want to see about any county, any taxing unit in this county or any county in the state. DLGF, just so everyone knows that. It's open to that portal is open to the public. So I want to say that before I forgot. So first off, this job is not for everybody. If you don't do your homework and invest yourself into the job, you're just going to be a person sitting there in a chair. Personally, before I ran, I attended the meetings 2 years prior just to watch and listen. I soon discovered it was a very complex job. So experience matters. Experience that you can trust, and you have to have a dedicated mindset. You need to attend all the state meetings, attend the online webinars, they also have AIC council classes specifically for county council that you can attend and pay for. I pay for them for my own. But you've got to take this job serious if you want to be effective. And I've enjoyed doing this. I love serving my community. And I want to thank everyone here tonight, especially you, Sam, for hosting or being the moderator. And I would appreciate everyone's support when election time comes around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yes, Sam. Thank you again so much. I almost feel like we're having our conversations at the History Museum on Sundays. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm running for county council because I see a future that I want to create for my children here in Connersville. I say this all the time to people. A lot of negativity in the community when people say bad things. It's creating a place where people want to live, not a place that people have to live. I think that's the biggest thing for our community. I've been fortunate to live a wonderful life here. Better than I ever thought as a kid. And I would like to continue to work for my community, and I would ask for your vote this November for the county council at large.
Thanks, Brian. Jay?
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and I would like to thank all the people that's watching right now for paying attention to what everybody's saying. There's been a lot of good ideas coming across this, and I think we need to all just try to pay attention and try to help the county government go along the best we can. And if I get the vote, fine. If I don't, I don't. I'm not going to hurt my feelings.
All right. Thank you all. Just want to remind our viewers that 3 of these fine people will be elected and 3 won't. That's our system, and it's a good system, but we certainly appreciate all of you willing to put yourself out there. It's not an easy thing. Thank you all for being with us this evening. And again, we'd like to remind the viewers that early voting begins at the courthouse on October 8th, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Voting centers will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and are located at Baptist Temple Gymnasium, New Heights Church, the Miller Center Banquet Hall, and the Keener Building in Everton, and at the Fayette County Courthouse. Have a pleasant evening and good night.